12 years he's on claim.
12 years.
You mentioned that it used to be Lena, and then we know that New York Life acquired the business of Lena. So now New York Life is the new administrator in town, the new owner of this policy, and then they decide, hey, probably instead of reviewing the 12 years worth of medical records, let's just send them out to an IME doctor, which is supposed to stand for an independent medical exam, but it's really a compulsory medical exam, because had he not gone, they would have said you breached the condition precedent to coverage, and we're going to deny your benefits for that. And because you didn't cooperate, you're not going to get paid, and probably would have just lost and had no rights because the person didn't comply with the terms of the plan. So he goes, and it sounds like New York Life sends him to like a disgusting rat hole with some hole-in-the-wall doctor who we won't name, because first of all, he's even working in that kind of facility. Hi, I'm Greg Dell, here with attorney Alexander Palomara, and we're going to talk about one of Alex's resolved cases from New York Life. And Alex, I always love talking about these cases with you. It's our success stories of people that we've been able to help them get their long-term disability denial reversed. So give us the background of this case with New York Life.
So this guy, prior to becoming disabled, worked as a director of leasing, made a lot of money, worked at his employer for 20 plus years at a property company. He obviously leased a lot of properties. He made a good salary. Unfortunately for him, a lot of stomach issues going on throughout the years ultimately led to his large intestine being removed, his colon being removed, chronic IBS. I mean, he has stomach issues like you wouldn't believe. Had all these various surgeries, continued working for a time period, ultimately filing a claim for benefits. And his policies with Life Insurance Company of North America, commonly known as Lena, who's now also known as New York Life, kind of administers the policies now. And he was on claim for 12 years, mind you. And he reached out to me after he was denied benefits. Unfortunately, he was denied benefits earlier this year after New York Life sent him to an independent medical examination. It was literally a 5-minute examination at a seedy office. My client describes to me that he couldn't believe that he was going inside an office in this strip mall. People smoking cigarettes outside. Like he felt it was a dirty place to go to, even dirtier inside. And the doctor's report is just a terrible report with a terrible outcome that led to New York Life denying his continued claim for benefits. After being on claim for 12 years, Social Security's approved his claim, and there's no reason for his claim to be denied. This is a guy who unfortunately goes to the bathroom on a regular basis on the day that he's eating, 15 to 18 times a day. If he's not eating a lot, maybe 10 times a day, 10 times a day. And they're saying this guy can work his policy is an own occupation policy. As a director of leasing, he has to be out in the field showing properties half the time. I don't know how he could be that close to a bathroom showing properties when he has to be out and about for 25, 30 minutes, maybe an hour at a time. I don't know how they believe he can actually do his job, but they found an independent medical examining doctor who says, this guy can do his job because, OSHA says he has to be within reasonable distance of a bathroom. But the OSHA requirements are, I think it's 3/4 of a mile or something like that, or something ridiculous. Something. It was within a certain time frame, or certain amount of distance, and it's like ridiculous. This guy has to be much closer to.
Let me back you up with issues. Let me back you up a second. 12 years he's on claim.
12 years.
You mentioned that it used to be Lena, and then we know that New York Life acquired the business of Lena. So now New York Life is the new administrator in town, the new owner of this policy, and then they decide, hey, probably instead of reviewing the 12 years worth of medical records, let's just send them out to an IME doctor, which is supposed to stand for an independent medical exam, but it's really a compulsory medical exam, because had he not gone, they would have said you breached the condition precedent to coverage, and we're going to deny your benefits for that. And because you didn't cooperate, you're not going to get paid, and probably would have just lost and had no rights because the person didn't comply with the terms of the plan. So he goes, and it sounds like New York Life sends him to like a disgusting rat hole with some hole-in-the-wall doctor who we won't name, because first of all, he's even working in that kind of facility, and probably spent, about 5 minutes with him?
Of course.
And what was that doctor really going to see in the IME other than maybe take a stool sample or something for a person who is dealing with, what was the actual diagnosis besides chronic stomach pains and having these objective surgeries?
Well, it is chronic pouchitis. So basically he's in stomach pain all day long, using the restroom all day long. You name the stomach issue, the ulcerative colitis, chronic pouchitis, chronic cuffitis, I think it's called. I mean, a laundry list. I mean, he has a stomach. He has no colon and no large intestine.
So it's incredible. It's obvious that he's having this issue. The symptoms continued, I'm assuming?
All the time, to this day. But let me just blow your mind. Before New York Life took over, Lena sent him to an IME years ago.
Oh, wow.
And this is about 5 years ago. They sent him to IME, and Lena said, no, our IME came back. You're disabled. Our IME doctor says you're disabled. So, but I understand the motivation for New York Life here. This is a big benefit. You know, there's
How much was the benefit?
Well, the problem is it's 12,000. The gross monthly benefit is 12,000 a month, but there's a cost of living adjustment, so it's always growing each year. So even though it was reduced a little bit because he got Social Security disability benefits, it's still growing every single year, and they're gonna have to keep on paying for until his retirement age is 67. So there's motivation to deny this claim, but this is not one they should have denied.
But what was unique? What did the IME doctor say that led New York Life to say, okay, now you can return to work, not in just any occupation, because you said it's an own occupation policy, but in the occupation you were doing? What came up in that examination?
Well, they looked at his medical records. His medical records basically said, oh yeah, my client, he can reach all day. He can do this, that, and the other, but who cares if he can reach all day? The problem is there's 50 days a year where my client doesn't leave his house because his stomach issues are that bad. So right off, who's going to hire him first and foremost, all right? But they're overlooking that. And I made doctors overlooking that in the medical records. The doctor even wrote that. But they're saying, well, he can reach all day. But who gives a darn if this guy can reach all day? Because the problem comes down to if he has an emergency, which he does multiple times a day, how could he possibly work? Greg, if you hired me and I was in the bathroom for 20 minutes at a time, 10 times a day, how could I possibly get any work done? It's impossible.
Right.
And I feel for this guy. He was a great, why would he leave his job?
Did the IME doctor give evidence to go, it's not reasonable he's in the bathroom 20 minutes. He should be going once every 2 hours?
No, all he said was if he was close, all he needs to be is close to a bathroom. If he's close to a bathroom, he's good to go. He thinks that he's in and out of a bathroom. The problem is this guy needs a hygienic area to go. I think he has to clean up a pouch thing. There's so much going.
He has like a bag.
Yeah, there's so much going on with this guy that it was just a ridiculous denial based on an IME doctor saying if he's close to a bathroom, he's good to go. But this guy spent 5 minutes with him, just signed off on it. And some guy just collecting checks from insurance company just to give him, evidence that they can use to deny a claim.
What I don't like that sometimes some of the New York Life claim reps do is to just, I don't know if they're trained this way or what's going on over there, but if you're a New York Life employee, is it you just have to take whatever the independent medical doctor says that you hire and that's the way it's going to be and just deny a claim? I mean, you don't have the opportunity to use your own brain capacity to say, wait, how could this doctor say this all of a sudden when for 12 years his treating doctors and multiple doctors have said this? Does the New York Life person pick up the phone and say, let me call his treating doctor and see what's going on here? Did you see any of that happen before the denial?
In my experience, in my 14 years of doing nothing but disability insurance claim, before this I was a prosecutor, 14 years of doing nothing but disability insurance claims, in my experience, I feel like New York Life, all they ever do is listen to whatever their paid for doctors say. They never look at whatever the treating providers say or the doctors that we send our clients to our independent medical examinations or our functional capacity evaluations. Maybe on the appeals, they'll finally look at it. But the claims handlers, they never look at that stuff. I don't know if they're overly too busy or they're trained that way, as you said. And they just say, whatever our doctors say is the word of God and we have to follow it.
What happened on the appeal that you were able to convince someone else? Because when you do an appeal, for people who don't know, it is supposed to be a completely independent review with no deference to the people who made a determination on the initial denial. So you had someone else look at it, but who looked at it for New York Life this time, if you know?
I don't know who looked at it in New York Life off the top of my head. I don't know because they didn't send me their updated peer review report. That's the good news.
Right.
But on our appeal, we have 3 treating providers. I went out to them and I got updated support from them where they clearly, I dropped up my own attending physician statements that were crafted to my client's need, like specific case here, and they filled it out so supportive. I sent my client's files, his vocational history and his medical records to our own vocational consultant who said, no. He talks about the OSHA standards. He said, this guy is not qualified for any occupation, let alone his own occupation, because he can't do his job. And here's the reason. Here's what the national economy is for a director of leasing. Here's why he can't do his job. He has to be out in the field all the time, showing properties. So I have my vocational consultant. I have 3 supportive providers, and I have all of my arguments showing where this IME doctor went wrong. And lo and behold, oftentimes the insurance companies on appeal will send us the updated peer reports they'll get because they'll send the medical records out to a new doctor to do a review. This time, it didn't even come to that. It was less than, I think it was 35 days the claim was overturned. And mind you, there's mailing time. We fax the appeals out, then we have to mail the medical records. So they probably had it for less than 2 weeks. They said, wait, we got this one wrong. And then the appeals department overturned it at New York Life. But I have to give them the credit. They overturned it quickly, and my client's back on claim. The check hasn't come yet, but it'll be coming. Literally just got overturned this week. So just in time for Christmas, which is great. But client could not be happier. But
well, fantastic victory. It was good that you got New York Life to listen, especially when they had done an IME that you provided them with overwhelming evidence. It provides hope for long-term disability claimants out there, especially with a New York Life policy, to say that if a claim is presented appropriately, if you put forward a very strong appeal that's articulated, relying on the facts, relying on the evidence, some mentions of what the standards are in ERISA claims, which we do in some of our appeals, and we know the internal workings of a New York Life. You've handled thousands of these. So you know what the New York Life rep has to see. You know what their medical consultants need to see. And you were able to present the claim in a light most favorable to our claimant, and that's why this got reversed. So I'm so happy for the client that the benefits will be reinstated, and I know that you'll continue to monitor the claim to make sure this doesn't happen. And an important thing to note is that a lot of people think, hey, I'm on claim and I'm going to stay forever. This is another perfect example that after 12 years, you're never safe. You can never let your guard down, and we will continue to monitor the claim to do everything we can to make sure this doesn't happen again. So if you're someone out there with a New York Life long-term disability claim, feel free to reach out to Alex, myself, any of our lawyers. No matter where you live in the country, we're available to assist you. We'll always provide you with a free consultation, and we look forward to the opportunity to speak with you.